welcome, Deborah. Deborah, it's so awesome having you on our show. I can't wait to ask you tons and tons of questions about what it's like to have a business in hair loss and hair everything. How are you doing today?
I am great. Thank you so much for the invite, James. This is really an honor for me to be able to talk with you and to see you again. It's been a while since we've been together.
Yes, it has been a while, and I'm definitely going to catch up and, well, go back in time where we first met and how all that worked. I just want to briefly say that Deborah is somebody I really respect a lot, both business wise and personally as well. She has great character, great values, and in addition to being an awesome grandma, gosh, you're awesome to her new little grandchildren. She is a kick ass business person. I mean, it is unreal what you've done in business. Like, I mean, in I think the last 8 years or so I've known, or 7 or 8 years I've known you. It's unreal. It's unreal. But let's just go back to the beginning. Oh, so tell us firstly what you were what was the last thing you were doing in hair, and then we're gonna go back a little bit in time.
Okay, the last thing that I was doing in hair was doing toppers and wigs for clients that were suffering from hair loss or experiencing hair loss of any kind. I had a salon that I built that was specifically designed for that use. We had private rooms, so everyone felt very comfortable. I was actually in a business park. And so it wasn't like a big regular salon front where people would be coming through um, and seeing all the young, beautiful hairdressers with their gorgeous hair. And I found that my clients didn't like that very much. They wanted their privacy, their autonomy. They wanted to have a private space where they could really connect with their hairdresser, where I could offer them all the help that I had.
So you did wigs and toppers, and before that, was that the first? Did you get into hair to do wigs or toppers, or were you doing hairdressing before that wasn't so specialized?
Right. When I started my career, I was just doing regular hairdressing. And when I was 27 years old, I had my first child. And once I had him, my hair started to fall out. And the doctors were just saying, oh, that's normal. You'll lose your hair after you have a baby. But after 6 months of it, and I had about 50% less hair than I normally would, I realized something bigger was going on. Plus, I was tired all the time, which is also a symptom of having a newborn. However, it just wasn't normal. And I finally was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition. And so over the course of the years, I've had my hair shed 3 different times where I've gone down to about 50% of my own natural hair. And I used a lot of wigs and scarves. I was a big fan of scarves just to cover it up because I felt like people were really staring at me all the time. And it was embarrassing. So, my hair would grow back and then it would come out again and then it would grow back and I'd be okay for a few years and then it would come back or fall out again. And it just was really frustrating to not being able to find things that really suited my needs. And so I got really interested in alternative hair. And that's how I started down that path.
So I did not know that. I did not know, which is really common. It's actually really common that we have salon owners that suddenly get into this very specialized hair business of toppers and wigs because of their own experience of hair loss or family members. But I didn't know that about you. I actually am so glad that you told us that. And I love how you said earlier regular hairdressing. I was doing regular hairdressing, and I mean it takes a lot of education to become a hairdresser, to cut, to color, and hairdressers. It's one of the things I really admire about hair professionals who are in salons is they're constantly re-educating themselves every year. It's unbelievable. But you took it to the next level. You went to the extremely specialized type of hair treatments for women with hair loss, and that's a whole nother level of education. And oftentimes I may speak to a hairdresser once in a blue moon, or even my own hairdresser in the past. I'm like, why don't you do toppers and wigs? They're so good. There's so many people you can help, and they are lost because it's a completely different talent. Isn't that right?
It's a absolutely different skill set than what you've been taught. However, the basics of hairdressing still come into play when you're looking at color theory and haircutting skills. Those are very necessary. I think a lot of hairdressers just have a lot of fear around it. They're afraid that if they color it wrong or cut it wrong, then they're on the hook. But less is more. Um, do less. You can always take a little more off. It is very frightening for a hairdresser
Mm-hmm.
to work on a hairpiece that, especially if a client brings it in and says she paid a lot of money for it over, maybe she bought it in New York or Beverly Hills or someplace where she paid a ton of money for it. And then you're like, if I cut this wrong, I'm on the hook. So I always start off very, very slowly. And then I'll add to it. You take a little and then you look and then you take a little. So it's not like a regular haircut in that progression. In a regular haircut, you come up with your design, you execute your skills to create that design, and you're done. But with a wig, it's much more like touch and go, where you cut a little bit, you look at it, you say, oh, it's still a little bulky here. You might take a little bulk out, and then you look at it again, and you just go slowly. And I think you have to be really patient, because it's not a one and done. Like, not like when a client goes in and just gets a regular haircut, they get their haircut and they leave. With this, you're working with the client for probably a little extra time. At least initially, I got to the point where I could do a cut in 15 minutes, but that's because I had years of experience of doing it, and I understood the shape of the hairpiece, where the hair would fall, that sort of thing. There's a lot of things to consider. However, it's very doable. And if you just follow that less is more is a really good place to start, because you can always take more off, but we can't put it back on.
So let's talk about toppers, and then I want to know about wigs if possible. Like, we could be cool to hear your like a little step by step process. But for those who want to get their toppers cut and they're not sure about it, and then also hairdressers as well, do you put the topper on their head first and then cut, or do you do it on a mannequin head? Tell us about toppers.
Well, first of all, before I would touch any new hairpiece, I would shampoo and blow it dry,
Mm-hmm.
because I like to call it getting the factory off of it. They come in, they're super silky, they're very flat. A lot of women who have hair loss are looking for more volume, more fullness. And the hairpiece, when they just put it on, it looks nice, but it could look better. So I would always shampoo and condition the hairpiece and blow it out using a mannequin head and a tripod. Once I got it in the style that I was looking for, then we would attach it to the client's scalp or to her hair, and see where it's falling, where it's laying. If it's too long, we might take a little bit off the bottom. If it's too heavy, we might thin it out a little bit so it's a little wispier looking. It just depends on what the client needs. Again, you go slowly with it. You cut slow so you don't make mistakes, and you take your time. The client appreciates that, because you would stop. And by the way, we're always cutting it dry. We don't cut it wet. And that's a big difference as well. So if a hairdresser's not used to dry hair cutting, they might be like, oh, because it is different than cutting hair wet. It's Personally, I find it easier, because you can see exactly what the hair is going to do right when you cut it. But some hairdressers are not used to dry cutting. So, and for a client, they're not really used to getting their hair cut when it's dry either. So we'd put it on, do the cut in. I might do a little round brush work to try to see what fullness we can get, especially if someone had thinning at the crown, because they're looking for more fullness at the crown. And then we'd look at it, decide together, oh, I think it's a little heavy here, or could we take it just a little bit shorter, and go from there. So it's not just one single haircut. You're probably working on it a little bit longer. I would always allow 1 hour for my first cut-ins on a new client.
And is that 1 hour with the client, or are you including the whole prep before?
With the client. And that includes the prep. If I were selling them the topper new, I would have it prepped before they came in.
Why is that? Why would you have it prepped before they come in?
Uh, because first of all, they were probably my client. We have a very thorough consultation before I would talk to anyone about or sell them a hairpiece. It's really personalized. And when I would talk with a client, I would sit down in a chair so we're eye level. So I'm not standing above them and being intimidating in any way, or making them nervous. They're already nervous when they come in because they don't know what to expect. They don't know what kind of help is even available. And then I would show them a variety of options that I thought would suit their needs specifically. And I always would bring out 2 or 3 different pieces, not so many that they become completely overwhelmed, where they're like, oh my gosh, there's just so much to choose from. But I'd show a variety of lengths, of thicknesses, textures, if they had textured hair, say curly hair, and then we would discuss why I thought which piece would be best for them. There were times when the client wanted to buy it immediately, but there was a lot of other times when I would order a hairpiece. So by the time they came back to me, I'd have the hairpiece and I would have shampooed, conditioned, and blown dry so that it was similar to the style that they would be wearing their hair in. And when they come in, we'd put it on and then do the cut in.
So much of valuable information there. I was taking notes. Gosh, where do I start? So you said I do a wash initially to get the factory off. Love that. That's brilliant. But I just want to say something. I hopefully I remember to say this in every interview we do. I asked you, why do you like to have them washed and styled before you show it to the customers? And my say, I mean, you answered me perfectly. My way of saying it is that a wig out of a box, or a topper out of a box, or a bag is going to look like a wig or a topper on your head. That's it.
Absolutely.
It has to be, some love has got to be put into it. I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's like, I can't think of anything except like you get a car, but it's got no oil or water or gas in it, and you expect it to go. That's all I can think.
Exactly.
You might be able to get it to go. You're going to burn that engine out. It's going to be terrible. But you've got to get it ready and prepped. And there is a expectation because online and in catalogs and pictures, we're seeing models and influencers, and even a consumer that might be reviewing their topper or wig, they're wearing a style piece. No influence. I try and get affiliates we work with, like, just do some pictures without it styled. Please just show how bad it looks unstyled, because it's a really, really big deterrent. Somebody gets it and they're like, this doesn't look like the videos I saw, the pictures I saw. So it's so good that you show, because if you showed the wig or topper right out of the bag to a brand new customer, they're probably like, what is this?
What is this? It looks like a flat pancake on their head, and nobody wears their hair like that, unless maybe you're 16, and you wear it completely flat and straight. But women, especially women who are experiencing hair loss, they're suffering from the loss of volume, the loss of fullness, and they want to see what the topper could do for them. So my goal was to help them catch the vision that I had for them. They had a vision of what they wanted to look like, and I wanted to help them to catch that vision. So most of our hair pieces were shampooed, styled, and stored on mannequin heads. So that we brought them out, we're showing them on the mannequin head, but then we take it off the mannequin head, try it on the client, and that way they could capture that idea a little bit easier. It's hard. Some people don't have the creative eye, where they can look at something and see something completely different. So they have to see it how it always would, how it would be if they purchased it.
Okay, Deborah, I've got it. I've got the analogy. It just came to me. You're buying a new house, and location, fantastic, awesome, and everything. The house has no furniture in it when you go see it, and it's all disheveled outside. It's not the lawn's not been cut, and it's just not been like judged up, right? Then you go
Right.
see another house down the street, same location, great location, same looking house. Could be the same looking house even, like
Right.
you know, by the same developer, and it's got staging, it's got pictures, it's got the lighting, the mid-century couches to go with the mid-century house, and you walk in, you get a feeling, oh wow, all right, you can
This is
see
it.
it. That's it, right?
That's
But
it. That's
the
the
other
vision.
one, yeah, exactly. That's the vision. The other one, the empty house with no furniture, um, that one it really takes a lot of vision, and most people don't have that when they're buying houses too.
That's true.
So that's it right there.
The clients don't know what it's going to look like coming straight out of the box either. So, if my advice to a customer would be, you definitely need it shampooed and styled by a professional if possible to see what the possibilities are.
That is an issue with online sales. There are not enough Deborahs out there. Consumers, literally, I hear consumers driving 4 hours to go to their topper or wig hairdresser. I mean, you must have experienced that too, right?
Oh yeah.
They'll drive across states to get there because you're not going to give $1,000 or $2,000 piece to just any hairdresser to try out. Just let's see how it works.
See if they can figure it out, right?
Yeah,
That's where the continuing education, which is something you missed or you mentioned
yeah.
earlier, is so important. So you can practice on your own too, but there's a lot of resources that are available that you can learn how to do the styling. And with wigs and toppers, unfortunately, sometimes it is trial and error. I will admit I've messed up a few, but that's how you learn. It's part of anything that when you're learning a new skill, we don't expect to be perfect at it to begin with. That's why we're learners. So, and I think continuing education is incredibly important, even for the consumer. They need to be educated by the stylist on how to care for their topper, and not just take it off and throw it on the chair in the corner. They have to put it on a wig stand. They have to shampoo it. They have to do things with it themselves, and that's part of the whole experience. In a professional wig or topper salon.
There is definitely something to get from that when even doing the washes. If you're going to wash your wig or topper every 2 weeks, there are some salons that do the washing. They'll do it for you. They'll wash it and style it, and it costs a bit of money, but I tell you what, like it's always going to look amazing. It's ready. Usually the consumer will buy two, and they'll just do a swap while one's ready. They drop the other one off, go back there 2 weeks later, and I've had a lot of the salon customers I've had never would get any returns or anything. No. Oh, look what happened to this piece. I'm like, what the hell happened? When maybe they taught the consumer how to do it, and the consumer didn't follow the directions exactly. And then I'm like, is that my piece? I don't know.
It doesn't even look like it. Was somebody who had taken their topper and gone out to the resort in Palm Springs and was in the pool and had a few cocktails and was rubbing her head on the like the float she was on, and she came back. That thing was just a knotted mess. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I'm just like, what did you do to this? It was unsalvageable. There's nothing we could even do. But the people because she didn't, well, I think she knew, but I think she forgot, because I was
Yeah.
always like, don't put it in the chlorine. I mean, if it gets a little chlorine water on it, it's okay. Just shampoo it right away. But she was not doing it, and that was a really sad thing because there was nothing I could do except help her to find a new piece. The other thing I was going to say is during the pandemic, my business did a lot of work with people just dropping their hair pieces off, having us style them, and then picking them back up.
So, since we're on the topic, we're going to get to positive things, obviously, but can you tell us some hair horror stories? Do you have any like that one? Is there any more? We won't use any names, maybe someone forgot they were wearing it when they were doing something or other. Any other hair stories? Hair
Probably
horror
the
stories?
the one that comes to mind the most is one of my clients who was a mountain biker,
Oh, nice. Tell me.
and she would wear her hairpiece underneath her helmet. I don't really know why, but I guess she just didn't feel confident to not have her hairpiece on. And she, would go out and mountain bike and get herself all sweaty and perspired and dirt. And then where the hairpiece was under the helmet, the hair started to rub off.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah,
So she
friction.
would have like holes basically
Mm.
in the hairpiece where the hair started to rub off from the friction of the bouncing up and down in the helmet and the shifting and the moving, and that was really tough. Another time I had a customer who thought she would give her hairpiece a deep conditioning treatment, and she used something at home that was pure protein, I guess. That hairpiece was also unsalvageable. You'd think it would be good, but the hair actually just reverted onto itself, and you couldn't. There was nothing I could do for that. Um, I would always tell clients to not cut their hair on their own, not cut the hairpiece. Please, please bring it in. And a few of them didn't listen. So there were times when we would actually have to send the hairpiece out to someone who could add more hair when they cut the bangs way too short or something. And that's a very costly thing.
That's brilliant. That's horror stories, and then you got to figure it out. And I mean, I've heard of some. Yeah, I've heard of a lot. Driving in a convertible. You know, but the mountain biking one, I've never heard that one before with a helmet.
The
That's I'll never
helmet.
forget that one. A common one I hear are the sunglasses. Wearing sunglasses on your head, and then
Yes.
the you know
The
woman
eyepiece.
comes. Yeah, I've heard this. She's like, my client came in. She says, I've got these two. I keep losing hair over here on my toppers. And then she looks down. She's like, oh, you wear glasses? She's like, yeah. And then the minute she puts them on her head, like without noticing it. But yeah, that
Right?
happens, right? Like the nose part like rubs on the hair.
It does. It pulls the hair right out. It gets caught in it. Yeah,
So
that's a big one.
So what's happening is we're actually talking about we're all talking about handmade pieces here, where the knots are coming loose. Like these are all really high quality pieces that your clients are buying. I'm so glad, and also other salons. The other examples I'm telling you about. So what's actually happening is that these knots they're getting rubbed together. So if I just took a knot, and I started just like rubbing it like this for a while, a few seconds here, a few seconds there. Eventually, it would start coming loose, and these are really small hairs, and the hairs sometimes has maybe some product on it, and they just fall out. The knot comes
Right.
untied, and the hair just falls out, and it really takes a lot of practice and care to not scratch your head and put things on your head like and how to wear. You're going to wear a hat with a topper. I don't know, what do you recommend?
Well, just put it on gently. If you're going to
Put
wear
it
a
on
hat,
gently.
don't cram it down. Put it on gently. If you had to put a bobby pin in it to help it stay on, that would be fine. But yeah, just gentle with everything. It's like buying um, anything that's fine and elegant. You want to take special care with it. So you just want to be very, very gentle with whatever you do. I'd see people just rip through it with brushes. I'm like, wait, 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 don't do that. Start at the bottom, work their way up. They use the wrong kind of brushes. There was just a lot of education that had to happen for clients.
Oh yeah, the old brushing it out up here. Like, if it's really long, I always like to
Yeah,
hold when
no,
I'm brushing a
hold
piece
it
out.
and
I
brush
hold
it.
it. If I try doing
Exactly,
that to my niece, she's going to go nuts. Because her hair's always
exactly.
tangling at the bottom. Yeah, there's so many things, and then like conditioner. There's just so many It's a really technical. It's very technical. Anytime I hire staff or trying to tell my wife or anyone about, I'm like, everyone's like looking at me puzzled. It takes a long time to get this. There's
It
so
does.
many things. It's not our own hair. There are, with my own hair, I'm having oils naturally coming out of my scalp, lubricating the hair. The topper and wig, the hair's dead. It doesn't have
Doesn't
that.
get any of that.
No nutrients, no proteins, exactly. So
Yeah.
so
That was
yeah,
one thing we did teach our clients to do, is to oil their hair pieces. And there's a bunch of really fine oils on the market, but if they couldn't afford something, we would just say use jojoba oil, because jojoba is
yeah,
as close to your natural sebum as possible, and then put it on the brush and brush through 5 strokes down, then the backside 5 strokes down, and do that around the whole head and leave it on before you shampooed it. And it kept the hair pieces in such good condition. They really were moisturized, basically, and wonderful. And then we
that's
also created videos on how to shampoo your topper. And we would send that to the client after they would purchase a topper or a wig. We created separate videos of telling them how to do it, so that there weren't any questions if, say, they lived far away. I had clients come in from Las Vegas, from Scottsdale, Arizona, all kinds of places. My salon was in Southern California. And, they can't just pop in and drop off their hairpiece for a shampoo. So we would send them the videos.
I'm so glad you brought videos up. I'm going to talk about it in a sec. One of the things with shampooing, and then when we get to the conditioning part, I don't hear this anymore, but I used to hear this, is putting the conditioner all the way into the
Oh,
base.
no,
Absolute no no. What happens when you do that, if you were to
it
do that?
just, it makes the knots slip, and you'll just have excessive shedding of the
Exactly.
hairpiece
Exactly. Yeah,
on
so
the ends.
on the ends, yeah, lower down, yeah, with the moisturizer. So key. And then that would be the same with spray as well. Any like
Right?
leave-in
A
conditioner
leave-in
sprays as well.
conditioner, heat protectant, anything like that that has a slip to it, you wouldn't
Mhm.
want to get anywhere near the knots.
Um, so you gave videos. We're going to come back to videos, okay? Because I got a lot to say about videos. But you gave us earlier a really brilliant process, and I'm just going to repeat that. Just jump in if I missed anything. You said get the factory off. Okay, initially you want okay, so you want to keep the topper because usually you can't wash a topper and return it. Consumer wants
Right?
to keep the topper. You're going to wash the factory off it to really make it look good to go out. There are ways to not wash the factory off and still do minor styling to make it wearable. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. What would
You
you
can do it
suggest for
by
that?
changing the parting. You might, I would take a spray bottle and spritz the base area, the roots, just a little bit of water, and use a round brush to lift and get some volume on the hairpiece. Um, Basically, that would be what I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend using hot tools on it, um,
Hmm.
straight out of the bag,
Yeah.
or the box, because there might be product on there that could react to a hot tool. At least I've seen that experience, especially on blonde hair pieces, where someone
Hmm.
put a flat iron in and it turned a different color.
That's fascinating, and it just reminds me because we've got factory work with for many years, and I visit the factory, and I've visited many factories, and think the word factory is mass production. So
Right.
when we're making a topper in nutmeg rooted, we are. doing coloring batches and so many, a big batch of hair at once in nutmeg rooted, right? So we're washing it in mass washing it together, a lot of hair together. And then we'll wash all the wigs and toppers again later and later. So it's, think of it like factory. A lot is happening at once. So we're not, doing the basically it's a different shampoo and conditioner. It's a different.
Right.
It's not the ones that we use like these ones behind me over here, or the
Right.
ones. It's to really help with quickening up production. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
it's not bad, but it's better to wash it off when you get it. You can
Right. And
definitely
then
get a
you
good
could,
style out of it. Yeah,
and coming from the factory, it's not personalized to you at all. So for the end use consumer, they need it personalized.
exactly. So you said wash the factory off. Wash. You wash it on a styrofoam head. Is that right? First,
No, I
before the
just
customer.
would hold the topper or wig in my hand
Mm-hmm.
and shampoo with the other hand and very
Yep.
gently work the shampoo and conditioner or work the shampoo through, rinse it while holding it, making sure the hair is always going in a down direction so that it's not, I'm not pushing the hair against the way that it's laying. You want it
Mm-hmm.
to flow down off of the, the base of the hairpiece. And then I put a little conditioner through the ends, work that through, and rinse that off. Then I would take it over to a mannequin head. I would actually lay it down in a towel, fold the towel up, and press it. So blotting, so no rubbing, because you don't want to rub the cuticle the wrong direction. So we want the cuticle of the hair to lay down smooth. So I would blot it, put it on a mannequin stand, pin it on the edges where the polyurethane edge is, and spray in a little leave-in conditioner, comb it out, power dry it, and then use the round brush to finish to get a little bit of volume, a little bit of curl, whatever the client needed.
And then you do all that before the client's even seen it, right?
Well, the
Before they
client
come in,
saw one that I had as a stock piece.
right? But if
So
you'd have it, you do that's your prep before you put it on the head, right?
yes,
Before you do the
yes.
cutting, right? So you do all. How
So
long does that take?
a total of 15 minutes, maybe. Not very long.
Washing and really for a topper, but for a wig
Mhm.
longer because you got
For
more.
a wig, it takes longer because the drying time is longer. Yeah.
Right, right. And do you ever air dry or do you blow dry?
I would air dry quite often, actually, because I loved the natural wave that would show up when I would air dry, especially with the Dimples pieces, because they had just a natural, beautiful, almost beach wave look to them. So, and that's far easier on the hairpiece than, the heat of the blow dryer and any sort of hot implement that you might use, like a curling iron or a flat iron, straightening iron of any kind. So yeah, if you can let it air dry, that's better, but not everybody wants that style. So you might have to use a round brush and a blow dryer or a flat
And what
iron.
did you have a specific temperature you would use? I don't know if they all have. Not all of these tools have heat. You can adjust it, right? Or is it just one temperature?
Right. I tried to keep it more on a medium temperature, nothing too hot. And for when I would use a heated implement, mine did have a temperature control, so I never went over 300 degrees, like a
Such
curling
an
iron or flat iron.
fantastic. You don't understand how many people you're going to help from this interview. Everyone's going to be running and looking. What's my how what's my
My
curling
temperature.
iron? So then you show it to the customer and you clip it in the hair and then you start with the cutting and you have you cut it. You even said you thinning it out. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's a real skill because with thinning out a topper or a wig, it's very easy to make short spiky hairs with the return hairs.
Right. Right.
There's not many people that can do that. That's amazing. I don't recommend, I always say don't use the thinning shears, scissors, because you're going to get spikies. you know.
If
But
yeah,
you,
if it's the wrong type of tool, you definitely will. I used a special barbering shear for thinning that worked really well. It's 1440 is what it was called. I still have it. I don't know if they still even have them around. They probably do. Or you could use a razor and just put the razor in with um, not horizontally but vertically. So you would just take out a little tiny bit of hair. And then the other thing would be, always test it. Like you would pull the hair up, you'd push it down, see where the bend is. You don't want to take anything that's below that bend, because if you take it down where below the bend, that's where you're creating those short spiky pieces. So
right.
where the natural bend is in the hair, you want to stay below that. You don't want to go into it. I mean, unless of course they want a really spiky piece. Some people, you know.
That's fantastic. So you're able to do that, which is a really good, really specialist skill. It's very hard to thin out a topper in a way because of the return hair. There's a video I've got on return hairs. What are return hairs? It's like when you're tying a knot, like a shoelace or something, or not a shoelace, just a knot. You need
Mhm.
two sides to pull. You got the long side, and then you got the short side to pull together to make the knot. So then
Yeah,
there's a short piece of hair that dangles out that you never really notice. um,
right.
actually, actually, if it's done
Gives
correctly,
volume.
yes, absolutely, it gives volume, and also if it's done correctly, you'll see return hairs at different lengths: 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches. The longer, the better, because then it looks like new hairs are growing out of your wig or topper. That's another
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
Because in,
Otherwise, go ahead.
I'm sorry, because in, on your regular head of hair, your hair is all different lengths at all the time, anyhow. Because some is shedding, some is regrowing, some is resting. So that's what makes a topper look natural, is to have a little bit of, different lengths. If it was all solid, say 12 inches long, you would know that that can't be natural. So for the client, they can see that. So to have it a little bit softer looks much more believable and natural, that it creates the illusion of live growing hair out of the head.
And what you said is a really big key. Those return hairs, because I've heard from a lot of consumers like, why are these shorter hairs? It looks like they're broken hairs or split ends or something. I've heard all these different things. I'm like, no, those are supposed to be there. Those are return hairs, and that's what allows you on a handmade piece that's hand knotted, which you actually, yeah, you can't style a machine made piece or wefted piece, but on handmade piece that you can style anywhere, which you said, I love it in one of your videos, you said 360-degree styling. I love that term. I never heard that
Right.
anywhere else. Yeah, those return hairs, they actually allow you to give that oomph, that volume, and it's unreal if you're using one of those round brushes, which I don't know how to use, I'll admit, but you do. You can really make a huge, poofy, insanely massive style. If you got enough hair on that top of a piece, it's unreal.
Yeah, yeah. People like to, especially people who are experiencing hair loss, really like to have a little volume back. So those return hairs are really valuable for that. And the reason is, if you're thinking about the philosophy of haircutting, is short hair will push the long hair up. So the short hair actually supports the overlying longer hair. So it gives that extra volume. And that's a great thing. And the reason that sometimes we would thin them is because if the client is using her biological hair, her bio hair as part of her style, especially with a topper, because, below the, just from above the ear down is all their biological hair, you want that topper to blend in with their biological hair and not just hang over the top of it and look separate from their own hair. So we would sometimes thin those edges, or thin through the body of it, so that hair had more flow and movement. And when they would say take their hair and tuck it behind their ear, their biological hair is showing at their hairline, and it's blending in with their own hair at the bottom. The topper's blending in with their own hair at the bottom. But if it was just blunt, it would never blend unless their hair was perfectly blunt. Most
Exactly.
people can have that.
So we're getting really technical here. So there are toppers and wigs, and they have an area over here at the top like that. For those that can't see me, I'm using putting my hand over my head, like where my forehead is, basically to my crown. It's the monotop area, is the term. And there are traditional, I call them traditional French tops or French parts, and we used to make them. We still have them. We don't have them on our online store. And the traditional ones are about 7, 8, 9 layers thick of different materials, and they're beautiful because you see like a false scalp, but they're
Hmm.
very very thick, and they don't have return hairs. And like that was like one of the pluses when we were making them a while back. We're like, oh cool, no return hairs. It's just the same 12 inches everywhere, or 14 inches everywhere, or 10 inches everywhere, no return hairs. And you don't see any knots as well. It's just really fantastic. But the negative side of that is you've got a really, really thick base that doesn't breathe, it gets hot, and then it's very hard to style. You can't really style any volume. It's kind of like a flat,
Yeah.
or it might get a teeny bit of volume, but it's a very flat look. And
Right.
a lot of the Jewish wigs that religious women wear, Jewish religious women wear, they have that French top, and it's a hand tied back or a machine made back, and yeah, they're great. But then there's pluses and minuses of everything.
Absolutely. I think it just depends on what the style and the final look that the customer wants.
Exactly. There are some French tops that are kind of a hybrid that do have return hairs and are thinner and breathable too. So
Hmm.
so non-traditional ones. So there are some out there. So I want it. So you have a really solid process of washing and styling, and I know I've seen pictures of happy consumers come out. Just when you had your salon in Orange County, I think I sent you some. I was like, please, can you help her?
Thank
She's on her own. She's a first topper. And you're just amazing before and after pictures. It's unreal.
you. My
Um,
pleasure.
yeah, you've really transformed and given so much to so many women, and the way you approach it's so calm, and you're not salesy or pushy. And we got to make a bunch of videos
We
in
did.
your
That was really fun.
we're gonna share those, and we've got how to wash, styling. I was just quick looking at them before this, and there's a really you had one like, I think it was how to pack your wig when you're going on a vacation, how to take your hair with you. I mean, there's loads of really cool videos. But there's one video in particular, one video, and I wanted to remind you to watch it, but you must remember it. And there's a pretty blonde lady, and you're putting on a small handmade topper. Was that your daughter-in-law
It
or
is my
daughter?
daughter-in-law.
Okay, I mean,
My
I think it
model
was like
that
two.
day.
I think it was like 2 years ago, and I think I emailed you, like texted you 2 weeks after that. But that video went viral. That had like 140,000 views in like a week or two on TikTok.
That's
It was
amazing.
unreal. Like there was just like, it was non-stop questions and comments. We're definitely going to share that. And I think she was, as you were doing it, was it her first topper, or she worn one before?
Yeah, it was her first topper.
Ah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, her expression, she was kind of like a little bit nervous, and it captured it so well.
She looked beautiful with it. She
She
wears hair
did.
now.
Oh, she does?
Yeah, she does. She
Oh,
wears
no
hair now.
way.
Yeah. So we
So,
got used to that, having that little extra.
so she got used to it, and in the video, it actually captured her initial response. There was a little bit of horror at
For a
first.
second.
She had that. She had that. I think that's probably why so many people watched it. I think he caught that. So tell us, you are. I mean, I wrote this originally. We keep going all over the place because I'm like the tangent master. I go off on tangents. I get excited. I want to keep going. But when we met at a trade show. It was a very small trade show called the American Hair Loss Council. And I
Yes.
hope to interview more people from there as well. It was, basically specialist top salons, or they also call them hair replacement centers, come to this show. It's really small. There's only like 100 people with some vendors, and we would always go and exhibit there. And I remember you coming in, and I was just showing you everything, and there was like bags on the floor everywhere, and you were putting together, I think, an order. I can't remember. Did you just open your salon, or was it new, or was that the first time we met? I think it was 7 or 8 years ago.
I think at that point I had just opened the big salon, which I
The
ended up
big salon.
selling and
Ah.
building a smaller studio so I could be more individually focused. And but yeah, it was a long time ago. It was a lot of fun, and I felt like your pieces really stood out. And so I'm glad that we developed a business friendship and a regular friendship as well.
So I have here, like, I'm one of the things I'm just so blown away and excited about you are your business accomplishments. So you had this giant salon, right,
I
in
did a
Orange County,
25 chair.
25 chairs, right?
Hmm.
And then you were, which we're going to go more into again later, right? I think you found this niche where you could help people, and you felt good. And you telling me, like, I just want to actually do this, just I don't
Right.
need 25 chairs. Did you sell that business, or do you move it along? Like, you moved out? What happened with that?
I did. I at that point with the big salon, I had a co-owner, so a partner, business partner, and as I got more and more into just servicing clients that had hair loss, I realized that that really was where my passion was, and having the big salon didn't really suit me anymore. And uh, like I said earlier, the clients would come in, they'd see all the young hairdressers and with their beautiful hair and the beautiful clients. And here are people who are hiding their heads under hats because they don't want anyone to see that their hair loss. And it started to really bother me. And so I approached my business partner and said, I don't think I want to go in this direction anymore. And we worked out a deal where she actually bought me out of the partnership. And, that worked out financially very well for me. And I was able to take the funds and open and build out the studio that I actually really wanted to have. And so for the past probably 6 years, I was completely focused on just helping women and men who are experiencing hair loss. Okay, so that was very rewarding for me.
Yeah.
And really, it wasn't even about the money, it was about helping people because most people who are suffering from this become more isolated. They don't really even know what options were out there. So I tried to make it my mission to really help people and educate them about what their options were. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And, wigs and toppers are wonderful, but there's even other options besides that. So I was happily going along in my business, even during the pandemic, because I did a lot of medical hair loss. I was able to stay open for the medical hair loss clients and got quite a reputation with the local oncology centers. And so they were referring patients to me as well. And that really helped me, especially during the pandemic time. And then after the pandemic kind of ended, I guess, we went back to regular business hours, and the business just really grew from there because one of the side effects of the pandemic of COVID was hair loss. So there were a lot of people that were searching for the types of solutions that I offered, and the business really grew. And about a year and a half ago, one of the vendors that I worked with approached me and said they'd like to buy my business. And so that worked out well for me. So now I'm focusing all my efforts on educating other hairdressers to learn how to do this. It's both very rewarding personally to help someone feel their best again. And you know, financially, it's incredibly rewarding as well. So I want hairdressers to live a better life and they can have more control over their schedule. I can teach them skills to work smarter and not harder. I went from when I was doing customers in the salon to 10 to 12 customers a day, um, and down to seeing 5 customers a day. So I was able to be a lot more present with those customers and not being worried about when is the next person coming, having more time for them, not feeling completely exhausted by the end of the day, which, when you're taking care of 10 to 12 people, you're pretty tired at the end of the day. Sometimes I couldn't even talk. I had more time with my family. I could, I worked from 9 till 6 every day, went home in the evening. So my quality of life improved greatly, plus my finances improved a lot too. So I want to not only empower women with who are losing their hair or experiencing hair loss of any kind, medical or hormonal or hereditary, and I also really want to help the hairdressers because the hairdressers are really like some of the hardest working people that you'll ever meet. They think everyone thinks, oh, it's just fun. You get to play with hair all day. It's really not like that. you know, Lots of personalities, a lot of demands on your time and stuff. But by specializing, I was able to get a lot more control over my business life. And then when my salon, uh, when they approached me to buy my salon, I was ready to move on to my next thing because I've been behind the chair for over 40 years. And so I was ready to go on to more of the educational aspect of it.
It's a common, well, first of all, congratulations on selling your
Thank you.
business not once but twice.
Thank
And
you.
we've talked about being an entrepreneur and and we've talked business talk before. And I remember, oh my god, I remember you saying like my husband just wants me to hang out at home and just chill. No, I want to go, go, go.
That's right.
and and you sold your business twice. I mean, that's for two businesses. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. And now you're on your next gig and you're helping
Right.
stylists, get better at what they're doing so they can help more women with hair loss. That's so wonderful.
And help
We're gonna
themselves as well. Live
and
better
help
lives.
themselves. And what you said was it's just the saying I behind the chair, and I heard it millions of times. I just want to get away. I just want to stop being behind the chair. I'm
Right.
behind the chair too much. And what I would see for working with salons for many years was that they weren't able to work on their actual business because they were stuck
Exactly.
working in their business, which was behind the chair. Like
Right.
getting more leads of clients, or scheduling better, or updating operations and all that other businessy stuff. Like they were never able to do that because
Right.
they were always, always, always stuck there. And
And I
it's
really
very
wanted
hard to get away.
It is. I really wanted to work on my business as much as in my business. In the last basically full year that I was at my business, I really wasn't behind the chair except to do consultations, make recommendations, and step in if there was a problem. I would do the initial consultation for a lot of clients or sit in while one of my staff did the consultation because I had a pretty robust training program of how to do consultations and how to figure out what the right type of topper for different needs would be, or wigs. And then I trusted them to do that. And also, because I knew I wanted to step away, I wanted the clients to get used to someone else doing their hair besides me. But they knew that I was there like a safety net. I could always step in if I needed to.
Yeah, and you said it before. Nobody knows how hard hairdressers work, and the hair. I call it hair specialist, because they're not more. There's more training in addition, for wigs and toppers. The hair specialists. So I've seen hair specialists. They take wigs and toppers home with them, and then they'll do some styling at home, and it never really stops. And then there's the prepping before, and then there's the coloring, and how long it takes to color a wig, especially a long one, a long time. I just want some low lights in it and a root. I mean, so and then or doing the whole color. It's an insane amount of work. It really, really is. Like there's no sleep. I see it all the time. Overly worked. Oh, and then on Mondays, when you think the salon is closed, it technically isn't because the owner is in there placing orders with their vendors. Because that's the only time they're not being disturbed and doing bookkeeping stuff. Is that right?
Right. That's right. I actually had mine down pretty good. I had it pretty dialed in. All my systems were in place, so I didn't have to spend a lot of time doing orders. Mostly, I was computerized, so I could look at my computer and it would tell me what I needed to order. And I
Wow.
had all the bills on automatic payment, and so I didn't have a ton of administrative things to do other than payroll, basically. And that was once every 2 weeks. And even that was a system. So I just had to
Wow.
the numbers for it, which were on my computerized program. So it made my life so much easier. And to have accurate records was huge when it came to selling both of my businesses. Was selling my portion of the big salon and also then my standalone hair studio, having accurate numbers and a history that could go back. So if there's a hairdresser who is thinking about possibly selling, that's a really good thing, is to have really solid books so that people can look at it and be like, yeah, okay, I see how much money you made last year. I see what your overhead was. You know, this is something that interests me.
Amazing. We're definitely going to share in our show notes and in the video how other stylists can find more information about your whole next gig, which is it's training, right? Education on
Education, anywhere
amazing.
from
That's
just consulting for business to actual skills that are needed, the cutting skills, coloring skills. And I have some training for different types of hair attachments that I know that Dimples doesn't use, but there are a variety of other things out there like bonding and beading and other things. And I can train people on how to do all of that, because not one
brilliant.
size fits all.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll definitely share that so you can check it out. And just to talk about your consumers, can you tell us the different types of hair loss that you found solutions for your consumers? What kind of hair loss were you dealing with, honestly?
Right. Well, of course, the medical hair loss, which is anyone who's suffering from either a hormonal problem or cancer or chemotherapy. We did a lot of wigs for those clients. Then I had people who had alopecia all over, and alopecia totalis, and they needed wigs. So we would usually custom design a wig for them or buy a stock system that was really close to what they needed and alter it to make it fit them perfectly. I had a lot of trichotillomania clients. That's people who, when they're stressed, they'll actually twist and pull their hair out. And the trick clients, they're very sensitive. And sometimes even their scalps are sensitive too because of, they've been pulling their hair out. Um, I've had clients from as young as 8 years old all the way up to people in their 80s get hair. There was a lot of women who had gone through menopause who just didn't have that same beautiful head of hair they always had, and they wanted a little bit more. So had a lot of that. We did service men clients. That wasn't really my core. My core was more of the women's pieces. So that's just where my heart is, because that's where I was at, and it led me to that. Hair clients, or clients that were experiencing hair loss, um, they have a little bit of a problem, I think, with their self-image sometimes. And if you can be calm and really talk to them and understand, and I would always start my consultations with my story too, because then they understand that I know what it is they're going through. And even if you don't have that yourself, maybe you know somebody who did, a mother, a sister, a cousin, your best friend, somebody is experiencing hair loss, and you can share those feeling or those stories with the client, because they can really understand that you know what you're talking about at that point. Um, Sometimes hair wearing clients can be a little neurotic, I will say. Um, but I always found that the best approach is just calm confidence. I know what I'm doing. And you project that confidence to the client and they will calm down. Um, but most people are just so thrilled to have a little bit of extra hair, to make them feel like they used to feel, to build their self confidence and their self esteem again. That I just found it to be incredibly rewarding as um, as a stylist, giving them more. People can go pretty much anywhere and get a haircut and a hair color, but people can't really go and find what it is that we do. There are very few of us in Orange County, California, which is a huge area. I knew of 5 people who did the type of work that I did. 5 out of millions and millions of people. And I would actively refer clients to them if I felt that they would be a better fit with them, or if they lived closer, or I just wanted to make it easier for them, or maybe our personalities weren't a good match. Um, there's a lot of people who need the help, and there's very, very few people who can provide this sort of help. And that's why, like, my mission now is to really help others to help their clients.
Brilliant. So you said you had clients from 8 to like 80 years old, something like
Yes.
that. And was there ever a common thing, a common phrase that you'd hear these women say?
Oh, that's a good
Something
question.
similar? So is this, was there a similar narrative or
A lot of them just
phrase?
didn't understand what was happening, or just were
Mm.
really frustrated. They'd been to their doctors. Their doctors couldn't find anything wrong, but yet their hair was really shedding. I would say that a common thing would be stress. A lot of people were under a lot of stress, especially during the pandemic, because people had fear, and then they were also stressed because financially maybe they couldn't work, or um, weren't considered essential, which I don't really understand that term. I mean, I understand it, but I don't see how they can apply that, because everybody is essential. Um, I think stress had a lot to do with it, and people just want to look better. They want to feel better.
So my closing questions, I've got two. One is to the consumer, and one is to the stylist.
Mhm.
If you could give 3 tips to a consumer that is new to hair loss, what would you say?
Number one, the answers are out there. So go on social media, type in hair loss, toppers, wigs, alternative hair, and you'll find a lot of information that is out there. The number two suggestion would be to find a professional alternative hair specialist so that they can help you and guide you, because these hair pieces are expensive, and I don't want you to make a mistake and buy something that is going to cost a lot of money and not be suitable for you. So, and the third would be get educated on how to take care of your hairpiece and how to put it on properly, take it off properly, store it properly, shampoo, condition, style it yourself if that's what your choice is, or to find somebody who can do that for you. Those would be my top my top recommendations for a consumer who's looking at getting into wearing alternative hair for the first time.
Brilliant. And what about for a hairdresser that wants to experience what it's like to do what you do?
So, for a hairdresser who might be interested in getting into this sort of business, I actually would recommend joining the American Hair Loss Council, or at least looking it up online and seeing what sort of um, classes and things are available for them. They have a lot of resources that are online. Um, then I would then ask themselves, number two would be to ask themselves if they have a lot of clientele who are experiencing hair loss or just want more hair in general, and kind of test out in their own mind what their market would be for for offering this service. And number three would be just find good quality education. So, not brand specific, because sometimes brands will teach you only about their things, but there's a big wide world out there. And there's a lot of great nonpartisan education available that is not brand specific, but I'll teach you all the things that you need to know. And to really partner with someone who could maybe even mentor you or help you to find the right things. Because before I knew uh, what I know now, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. I spent a lot of money that I didn't need to spend on things that just really didn't work. And so, get references if you're going to hire somebody to help you, or find somebody who really knows what they're doing and isn't, maybe from a big manufacturer that only sells that product, or, just nonpartisan, not branded education. I mean, I'm probably saying that wrong. Not specific to one type of thing, education. Skills more than one name brand.
And that's why we have you, Deborah. You have your education as well. We're definitely going to put that there. Definitely, really, really good tips there for both the consumer and the hairdressers. And really, Deborah does this out of her own heart, and she just wants to give. So definitely check out her classes. We're going to give information on that. And I just want to thank you. You've been awesome to interview, to catch up with. Thank you so much for everything you do, Deborah.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, James.